Be patient, he says, which also makes me think perhaps they were not being patient. Otherwise, why would he mention it? Bearing with one another in love, he says. And again, if they were already bearing with one another in love, he wouldn't have to ask, would he? He urges them to make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. Make every effort, he says, as if the few efforts they were making weren't nearly enough. And then look at how many times he uses the word one to get the point of unity across. Count them there in verses 4 through 6. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called to one hope when you were called, he says. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of us all, who is over all and through all and in all 7 times. Just to let his readers know that if there is only one Lord, one faith, one baptism, then there cannot be 2 groups in the church. There has to be unity. It is the first step in becoming what you are. But then there is the second step, which is no more this way and no more that way. The writer says in verse 14 that as the church of Jesus Christ, we will no longer be infants, tossed back and forth by the waves and blown here and there by every wind of teaching and by the cunning and craftiness of men and their deceitful scheming. It is for this reason, he says, that Christ has given the church gifts. He gave some to be apostles, some to be prophets, some to be evangelists, some pastors and teachers, to prepare God's people for works of service, so that the body of Christ may be built up. I can imagine some of those members of the early church chasing after every new teaching that came along, being sucked into every easy scheme intended to take advantage of them. What they needed was some help. They needed some apostles who would plant the right kind of church. They needed some prophets who would point out the difference between right and wrong. They needed some evangelists who would bring new converts into the flock. They need pastors and teachers to care for the congregation and provide them with the right kind of instruction. At every point, these gifts Christ has given are intended to root the church in the right kind of soil, to help it grow up straight and strong, to keep it from being blown over by the first big wind that comes along. That is as necessary now as it was in the first century. So, no more fighting and no more biting, this writer says. No more this way and no more that way. Unity and stability are essential to the health of the church. Without them, the church can never grow up. And that seems to be the thing this writer is most interested in. Then, he says, we will no longer be infants. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will in all things grow up into Him who is the head, into Christ. Now, in Greek, this passage is not as optimistic as that. It doesn't say we will grow up. It says let us grow up. Like the high school football coach might say to his team in the locker room during halftime, let us go out there and beat the other team. The outcome isn't certain. The coach doesn't know that his team will win, but he is trying to inspire his team to give it their very best effort so that they will win. Let us grow up, says the writer of Ephesians, but that doesn't mean that all of us will, or even that all of us want to. I think about the lost boys in Peter Pan, who were taught by Peter himself to sing, I won't grow up. Do you remember it? Can you repeat after me? I won't grow up. I don't want to go to school. Just to learn to be a parrot. And recite a silly rule. Oh, very good. In nearly 25 years of working with and through Christian congregations, I have encountered some of those lost boys and some lost girls too, who refuse to grow up. They don't contribute anything to the unity of the church. They are not humble or gentle or patient or loving. They do almost everything they can to pull the church apart. And they don't contribute anything to the stability of the church either. They are tossed about by every wind that blows a fresh teaching into the place, easily led astray by those so-called experts who promise to have all the answers. And while the church of Jesus Christ is being torn apart and tossed about, they sit back and sing, "I won't grow up. I don't want us to be stable. And I'll slap my Christian brother while we're sitting at the table." Those kinds of people, wherever they are, keep the church from growing up. They won't do it. They won't let us become what we are. But as I have thought about those people, I've thought about us too and wondered, why would any of us want to grow up? What is the motivation? Done a lot of thinking about that in the last week, and what I have come to believe is that while there are some people who really refuse to grow up as Christians, most of us want very much to grow up.